Hi there. My name is Phil Clark, and I'm the founder of Enable Special Needs Planning, where we believe that planning should be focused on allowing our loved ones to live out their unique life of purpose and impact. And I'm so glad that you're here today joining this call to learn about our process and learn about our views and our mindset when it comes to planning for the future of our loved ones. And I want to make sure that we are as efficient as possible with our time today and your time. This isn't going to be a long, drawn out webinar that all of us have experienced before. I hate that just as much as anybody else does. So my goal is to get us get through this content in 20 to 25 minutes and then stay as long as I'm needed to answer any questions that you guys have regarding your family's planning considerations or our process, whatever that might be. So for questions throughout the presentation as they come about, you should see a chat box on the side of your screen. Feel free to use that as questions come up throughout the presentation and the call. Send those to me. I'm the only one that can see those questions, and I would be happy to answer those questions at the end. But don't wait till the end. Feel free, if you have a question that pops up in the middle of the presentation, just type that and send it to me, and I will be able to see that. And I might have you interact with that chat box a couple times during the presentation just to ask you a few questions. And if you participate, that would be helpful for me to understand who it is that I'm talking to today. So for those of you joining us here on this call, I assume a couple things. Number one, I assume that you have a child or a loved one that's going to take some additional planning considerations for his or her future. Is that accurate? I also assume that there are some questions that you have about your planning process for planning for your child's future. And those questions could be basic questions or they could be very technical, specific questions. But I assume that you join this because you do have questions. So am I correct in both of those? Is that you? And the thing I don't want to assume, though, I don't want to assume I know where you guys are in your planning process, or I don't want to assume I know what you need. So if you could help me out so that I could better tailor this call to the people who are actually on this session, help me out here. So I assume you fall into three different categories. The first category is you're really at the beginning stages of your planning process. You've just now started thinking about the planning considerations that you will need for your child's future. You might have had a couple conversations with people in the past, but you haven't really implemented any strategies. And if that is you, I'm so glad that you're here, but if that is you, would you type in the number 1 in the chat box so that I know that you're right at the very beginning stages of planning? The second group that you might fall into is that you have been to conferences, you've talked to some professionals, you have done some strategies, implemented some strategies in special needs planning, in planning for the future of your child. And even though you've done some strategies, you still believe that there's more that you need to consider and that you need to do. So if that is you, would you type in the number 2 in the chat box? That will help me understand, again, who I'm talking to and be able to tailor this message to certain groups of people if it's concentrated in that area. The third group would be families who feel like they have a really good grasp on their future plan for their child. You've met with professionals, you have done your research, you've implemented strategies, you feel like you are very well prepared for the future, and maybe you're just joining this call today just to get confirmation that what you have done is correct and is sufficient. And I'm so glad that you're here as well. But if that is you, would you please type in the number 3? And that, again, is going to help me understand who I'm talking to today. So regardless, and I'm seeing your answers come in, regardless of where you fit, our goal is to provide every single family that we serve peace of mind about the future. And isn't peace of mind what we're all searching for? Knowing that we are doing everything in our power to give our family and our loved ones a great future. And peace of mind means different things to different families. So, I want you to ask yourself that question. What does peace of mind mean to you? Why did you join this call today? What are you searching for? And that's going to be very important to keep in consideration as we're walking through our call today. So I've got another question for you that you don't have to type in the text box, but I want you to think on. In the past, what has prevented you from creating a plan? What are those obstacles? What are those roadblocks that have prevented you from achieving this peace of mind about the future? Everybody has their own unique challenges, but it's important for us to first identify where those challenges lie so that we can overcome those. And we're going to get to that later on the call, but I want you to really think through What are those moments in life? What are those things that have prevented you from achieving this peace of mind? But before we get into the meat of the call and I share with you our process, I think it's really important for you to understand a little bit about me and my background, my family, and maybe why I have a different perspective of what special needs planning should be. So, when I was only 4 years old, my sister Sarah was born. And just like so many families across the country that we've talked to over the years, my parents didn't get a congratulations from the doctors on the day that she was born. Instead, my parents heard, "I'm sorry, your daughter has Down syndrome." And over the next few weeks and few months, various doctors and nurses and professionals, each one by one, gave my parents their limited expectations for Sarah's life. My parents heard things like, "Your daughter might not be able to ever ride a bicycle. Your daughter might never be able to be in a mainstream classroom. She might never be able to live independently." And that list just went on and on and on of things that these doctors and professionals wanted my parents to be prepared for regarding the abilities that my sister would not have. And one of those things that my parents heard in the doctor's exact words was, "Most kids with Down syndrome usually don't learn to read. And you should expect the same." And if those doctors were to have followed Sarah's life and we were to fast forward to today, 31 years later, they would now find my sister working in a second grade classroom, where one of her many duties in that classroom is tutoring the kids on their reading abilities. Just the same thing that doctors said she would never be able to accomplish herself, she is now teaching others. And a few years ago, there was a particular child in her classroom who had fallen so far behind in his reading abilities that the teacher had called the parents in to discuss her concerns. The school year was close to being at the end of the year, a couple months towards the last day of school, and together the teacher and the parents decided that it would be best to hold this child back in the second grade. And for one reason or another, this teacher put Sarah with the student. And for a short time on a daily basis, when the entire class was working on their reading, Sarah and the student would go off, and he would read to her, and she would read to him. And together they would work through comprehension worksheets. And at the very end of the school year, to the teacher's astonishment, when she tested the entire class, she found that this child had completely caught up to the rest of his peers. And in fact, would move on to the third grade with the rest of his friends. And my mom told me this story about what had happened and told me about how on the very last day of school, this child walked up to Sarah with a handwritten thank you card and a pad full of stickers that he bought for her that morning at the school store. And he just gave my sister a hug and just said, "Thank you." And as mom was telling me this story, of course Sarah perked up and she had a grin from ear to ear. And I could tell that she was so proud. I could tell she was proud of that student because she saw all the work and all of the effort he had put into improving his reading abilities. But I also saw that she was proud of herself. She was proud that she had the ability to make a difference in that child's life. And that is where the foundation of our beliefs when it comes to planning comes from. In that we believe that everyone has the ability to impact the lives of others. And each of us here on this call today, we all strive to impact the lives of others. Am I right? This is what gives us a sense of purpose to our lives. But we are not unique in this ability. My sister Sarah is not unique in that ability. And your child is no different. I absolutely believe that your child, in his or her own unique way, absolutely has the ability to impact the lives of others on a daily basis. And the great thing is, I know that you believe the same thing, or you wouldn't be on this call today. But to me, this is what planning should be focused on. The planning conversation should be focused on what are we doing today that's going to allow our loved ones to live out their unique life of purpose and impact. And you're going to hear those two words from me a lot on today's call. Purpose and impact, because I believe that is what we have to focus on in our planning conversations for the future of your child and the future of your family, for that matter. And so what I want to do today is quickly, just so you understand where we're going, I want to talk to you about what I see special needs planning being today. What is special needs planning versus what I believe special needs planning should be. I want to quickly run through each of the 5 areas of planning that we guide families through, that I believe are so important to think through as we are planning for our loved ones. And I want to talk to you about how you can achieve peace of mind through planning. We have 4 different options that you guys will fit into. You guys are here for a reason today, and I want to make sure that you're getting everything you can out out of today and accomplishing what you set out to get from today's call. So we have options ranging from free resources to fully guided one-on-one coaching with members of our team. You guys will decide where you fit, but we have an option for each of you. And so traditionally, special needs planning, when you think about that term, you probably think of two things. You probably think of financial planning, and you probably think of legal planning. Traditionally, that is what special needs planning is when we're thinking about the future of our loved ones. And many of you on this call told me that you have done some planning strategies. You've implemented some strategies for your child's future. And if that's you, you've likely talked to a financial planner and discussed the financial planning considerations for your child. And if that's true, you've probably talked about life insurance. You've probably talked about ways to funnel assets from your estate into a vehicle that's going to provide for your child in the future without sacrificing their government benefits. Does that sound familiar? It probably does. And if you've talked about the legal planning considerations that you need to think about, and you've talked to an attorney, you've likely talked about wills. You've likely talked about powers of attorney, special needs trusts, other kinds of trusts. You might have touched on guardianship for your child today and in the future. Does that sound familiar? And this is traditionally what special needs planning is. This is the model that planning was modeled to me when I entered this industry 12 years ago. But if we look at what this model shows, what has to happen in your guys' life for this plan to take effect? And you guys are probably thinking this right now. You guys are no longer here. You as parents or providers have to pass away before this plan is implemented. And I know you guys, because you guys are on this call, I know that you have so many hopes and dreams for your child, for your loved one. You have an abundant vision for their future. So is all we want to plan for in our conversations planning for what happens when you die? So I looked at this model from a proud big brother standpoint many years ago when I first entered the industry, and I said, no, I believe special needs planning should be focused on allowing my sister, allowing our loved ones to live out their unique life of purpose and impact. That should be what the focus of planning is. And long story short, I was getting a lot of pushback from firms and industries, and I realized I wasn't going to be able to change the industry, so I had to do this on my own. And so today, we now work with families and guide them through 5 areas of planning to help them think through today, to help them think through tomorrow, to help them think through the future. Our goal is to make it easy and efficient and affordable for every single family to create a plan for their loved one so that their child and loved one can live a life of purpose and impact. And to help illustrate how we guide families through this process, I want to share a story with you about a family that we've been serving for the past year and a half to 2 years. And this family has given me permission to share their story with you and other families. But for privacy's sake, we are going to change their name to the Jones family. And so the Jones family is a mom and a dad and 2 boys. Their oldest is 14, and their youngest, whose name is Eli, is 12. And Eli has a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. And when they first came to us, they shared with us that he struggles socially, he struggled with confidence, he had a hard time with speech, he struggled with apraxia. And so there were a lot of hurdles that this family was trying to overcome. But the Jones family found us on Google. They searched something about special needs planning, and our website popped up, and they scheduled a call with us. And these are the calls that I love the most because I get to learn about a family, understand the hopes and the dreams that they have for the family and for their child. I get to understand what abilities they see in their child and what they want to plan for. And I also get to understand what are the challenges that they are currently facing and how can our team surround this family to help them think creatively on how to overcome those emotions. Those are my favorite calls because I love the relationship part of what I do in getting to know the families. So the Jones family told us at the very beginning that they had implemented some strategies when Eli was 2 years old. Eli was now 12 years old, and 10 years had passed, and they had known the entire 10 years that they had needed to plan bigger. They had needed to implement more strategies. They weren't done in their planning process. They said life just happened so fast. And before they knew it, he was 12 years old. And so I asked them, I said, why is it that you feel like you haven't completed the plan as you thought you needed to? And we had about a 20-30 minute conversation on why they felt they hadn't planned and what hurdles they were facing. And in that 20 minutes, here were the words that I heard. I heard, we feel overwhelmed with the amount of planning decisions that we know that we need to make. We feel frustrated that there's not a clear path and a clear guide of what we need to do as a family. It's very blurry. We feel confused about all of the options out there. When we Google special needs planning, so many pieces of information pop up. And oftentimes they're conflicting pieces of information. How do we know what's right for our family? They've told me they felt worried and they felt afraid about the future and about their son and what happens if they're not here. And ultimately they said, we feel stuck. We feel paralyzed in making any decisions for our family or for our son. Do you guys ever feel these emotions? Do these emotions resonate with you? I know they do for my family. As we were going through these planning conversations, we felt those emotions, and we still do. And every single family that we serve and work with feels these emotions throughout their journey. You guys aren't alone in these emotions. But I have found that we have to overcome those emotions because these are what stall families in their tracks. These emotions are what prevent families from creating a plan in the first place and thus having peace of mind as a family. Those emotions are what stall that out. So we've got to find a way to overcome those. And if we're on this call being completely transparent and completely honest with each other, nobody wants to plan, right? Planning for the future isn't something that normally we as humans get excited about when it comes to this type of planning. Nobody woke up this morning and said, I can't wait to jump on this call and listen to this guy talk about planning. It's just not in our human nature. But despite the fact that nobody wants to plan, our team helps families plan every single day. We help families from across the country plan for the future of their child. And so when a family, much like the Jones, comes to us and tells us that they're ready to begin the planning process, I'm always curious about why. Because I'm fascinated by human emotion, human decisions, and how I can better help families walk through this process. And what I find is that every family has their own unique reasons of why they want to plan. But as I ask more and more questions, it becomes apparent that there are two dominant reasons of why families want to plan. And they're obvious. One, they want to plan for their child. And two, they want to plan for their family. And again, everybody has their own unique reasons of why they're planning, but as I ask more and more questions, they all really fall into the same category. And so for their child, they want their child to be happy. They want their child to feel fulfilled with their life. They want them to be happy with what they are doing every single day. And they want their child to be included in the community, with friendships, with family, with relationships, whatever that might be. They want them to be happy, fulfilled, and included. And for the reasons that they want to plan for their family, families want peace of mind. They don't want to worry about the future. And when they think about the future, they want to think about the future in a hopeful way. They don't want to be scared. And they also want to feel secure. They want to know that what they're doing is protecting their family and providing for their family for the long run. And so for the Jones family, what they told us is, we want Eli to have friends. We want to see him continue to build his confidence so that he's developing those relationships today and in the future. That's important to them. They want Eli to have options for post-high school. What happens when he graduates? Are there going to be volunteer opportunities or jobs, maybe college? The future is unknown to them, but they want to make sure they're providing every opportunity for success for Eli. And then they want to give him as much independence as possible in the future. Again, that's an unknown of what he's going to be able to do on his own, but they want to give him every opportunity to be independent. And so for the family, they told us they were so tired of worrying about the future. They're sick of worrying. And they want to be able to provide opportunities for the entire family. They have retirement goals of their own. They have a small business that they're running that they want to be able to continue to grow and thrive in. They want their oldest to go to college, and they have plans for him. And they want Eli to have opportunities as well. So they want to plan for opportunities for everybody, not just focusing on Eli. And they want to feel unstuck, was the last thing they told us. They were so sick of that feeling of being paralyzed in every decision that they knew they had to make. And so it's important to keep our focus on that why. So what are your reasons of planning? I asked you that earlier in this call. Why are you here today? And if you had peace of mind that your family and your entire family was well planned for, what would that do to your family? What would that do to you in your mindset if you had peace of mind about your child's future? It's so important to focus on those whys because, as I mentioned, nobody wants to plan. And so if your reason for planning is somebody told us we have to, that's not going to help you overcome those emotions that we talked about. So what is holding you back? Likely some of these emotions that are on the screen right now are holding you back. And so how do we overcome those? As I mentioned, we've got to focus our mindset on your why. What are you trying to be for your family? What do you want to accomplish? What opportunities do you want to give to your entire family? We've got to have a strong why, and our team spends a lot of time with families understanding and helping them develop their why for planning. So if you remember the Jones family, they felt worried about the future. They felt overwhelmed by the entire planning process. They felt afraid of dying, they told me. And they felt ultimately stuck. And so when the Jones family came into our process at the time of our first meeting, they expected to plan from the traditional planning standpoint. They expected to have conversations only focused on what happens when the Jones parents are no longer here. And they were dreading those conversations. They weren't excited about talking about what happens when they're gone, right? Nobody wants to have that conversation. But as we began sharing with them what our planning process does, they were pleasantly surprised by our view of special needs planning in these 5 areas. And they loved the fact that our focus was on creating an abundant future for Eli. That was our main focus. And these are the areas of planning that our team guided them through. We walked them through our vision plan that helps them and helps us understand their why for planning. Why are they going through this process? What is important for their family? It also helps define what a great life for their son, Eli, looks like. And the second step of our planning process is a life plan. And this is where we help them document all the details about Eli's life that likely only the parents knew. So that if they were gone for a long weekend, or if there was a permanent transition in the future, that a new caregiver, a new guardian, or somebody watching Eli for a weekend would be able to understand all of his likes and dislikes, all of his medications, all of his doctor's appointments, all of his food allergies. And the list goes on and on and on about what parents know that likely nobody else does. They didn't have this documented. The third area of planning is the resource plan. And that's where we helped them creatively surround themselves with the services, the organizations, and the individuals that are going to make this vision for what Eli's future looks like become a reality. We know it's going to take a team, and we've got to be able to think creatively of who to put on our team to be able to support this vision for your loved one, but for Eli's future as well. The fourth area of planning was the financial plan. We started the Jones family with making sure they were as efficient in what they were doing as possible. They had so many goals and so many plans for their family, for their oldest son, and for Eli. They felt like it was impossible to address all those goals. So the first thing we do with families is help them be as efficient with what they are already doing so that we can plan for all the areas that they have goals for. And so we have to also think about what happens when the parents aren't here. That's the reality of this. And we've got to have a plan in place for that. And we have to have peace of mind and clarity of what that plan is to make sure that Eli had the resources necessary for him to continue living out his purposeful and impactful life. And then lastly, we walk them through the legal plan, where we help them protect their entire plan and give them the peace of mind to know that their plan will continue to happen no matter what happens in the future. We're protecting everything that they want to see happen. And so after going through our entire process and completing the 5 areas of planning, the Jones family told us that they had never had so much clarity and peace of mind about the future. And they felt confident that they had a plan that included a clear vision for Eli's future, that included significant friendships, post-high school plans, and a path towards independence. They now had all the details about Eli written down in an organized and easy to update document so that a family member or a friend could love and care for Eli if the parents were gone for a long weekend or there was a permanent transition that had to take place. They knew that the resources were now in place that would allow Eli's abilities and confidence to increase so that he has more options after high school and he is on the path to independence. They had a financial plan in place that allows their family to feel secure and their child to be provided for if anything ever happened to them. And all the family's goals were clearly defined, and there was clear plans of action from a financial plan associated with them. And they had a legal plan that protected the Jones' wishes and desires for Eli's life. They also held a family meeting that the guardians, the trustees, the future caregivers, close family friends, other family members were involved with to also understand what the vision for Eli's success looked like. This is why the Jones family felt relieved and felt peace of mind when they now think about the future. So now that you've seen what our process did for the Jones family, where do you guys fit? Each of you guys had in your head the reasons that you're here. You guys had the reasons that were holding you back. What challenges are you guys facing as a family? What needs to be addressed before you can begin planning for your family and your child's future? As I mentioned, we have a solution for you that's going to allow you to achieve peace of mind for your family's future. And so our team helps families plan in 4 different ways. And the first option, the first plan, is at no cost to you at all. We provide you the checklist and questions to consider and the discussion points that you need to have with your family for each of the 5 areas of planning. So basically, we provide you the template to what you need to discuss and consider. We give you that framework. And we are going to be sending those documents out to every single person who joined this call today just for showing up on this call. So we appreciate you taking the initiative of planning for your child's future and your family's future. And this is our gift to you. We want you to be able to use those and further those conversations with your family. The second option is a little more involved. The second option, you get everything from the Bronze Plan. Plus, you get our full-length Ultimate Guidebook that goes into so much more detail about our mindset, about our process, and about each of the 5 areas of planning. In the second option, we also open up our password-protected online portal to you so that you can complete your vision plan and your life plan. And you can use the tools inside our portal to complete those as easily and as efficiently as possible. So if you remember, the life plan is where you document every single detail about your child's life. Details that likely only you know. And it can be daunting to open up a blank Word document or take a blank legal pad to just start writing all of the details that you know. Where do you even start? And so what our team did is we built a tool inside our portal that walks you through question after question after question about your child. And by the time you are done answering our questions in detail, you will likely have 60 to 80 pages of a detailed document that's organized, that's editable, that's searchable, of information about your child that you can share with family members or friends or caregivers. And the best thing about this is, as details about your child's life change, all you have to do is log back into your portal, change the information that's changed, hit save, and your plan is updated. Again, we try to make it as easy and efficient for families to plan. And so the third option that you get is a lot more involved from our team. We give you a lot more attention and accountability from our team in helping you move through each of the steps of the planning process. So in the gold plan, you get everything in the bronze and silver plan, but you also get group coaching sessions that walk you through each of the 5 areas of planning and help you dive into that process even deeper. We'll also be on those calls answering live questions at the end that are specific to you and your family. And so you will get a calendar event of scheduled sessions that you can jump into when it's convenient for you. And you'll also get meetings with our financial planners and attorneys to discuss your particular questions and your needs. And then lastly, the Platinum Plan includes everything from the lower tiered options, but our team personally, one-on-one, walks you through and keeps you accountable to completing your plan. We are with you every single step of the way in this Platinum option. And so you guys all came in, as I mentioned earlier, with a goal in mind. You had something you were hoping to accomplish from this. I want to encourage you to take action on whatever it is you need to get closer to feeling peace of mind. And I give presentations across the country at large conferences and smaller family groups. And so I know what many of you are thinking right now. Many of you are thinking, you know what, we're young. My child's young. We've got time to plan, and we'll get to it later. Some of you are thinking, we don't have time to plan right now. Our life is so crazy there's absolutely no way that we can add something else to our plate. We don't have time to plan right now. We'll get to it later. But guys, the reality of this is we each have to plan because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We are not given tomorrow. We each have to create a plan so that we know that our child's success is well planned for. With my role and what I do with families, far too often, multiple times per year, I get phone calls from families saying, here's what just happened within our family, this life event. What do we do? Many calls from siblings calling us saying, my mother just passed away and I have no clue what to do with my sibling. And those are the worst calls that I can ever get. Because while we will help families plan for the best of our ability, the reality of that is there's a certain point of time where planning becomes very, very difficult. Again, you guys are on this call for a reason. Take action. Make today the time that you decide that you are going to overcome whatever emotions are holding you back. And you are going to plan for your child's future and your family's future so that you can have peace of mind, to know that the future is taken care of no matter what happens. We are so glad that you watched this video and joined this call. And so to help you to make progress with your planning, we're going to send you the benefits of the Bronze Plan. I told you we'd send you those documents so that you can get started in those conversations today. And I encourage you to take this seriously and to have those conversations with your family members. Have these conversations with your child if and when it's appropriate. We're going to send you that quick start guide to special needs planning and all of those resources. But potentially you have more questions that are specific to your family. You might need some additional support and accountability to create your plan. And if that's the case, I want to encourage you to sign up for a one-on-one strategy session with me to discuss your family in more detail and learn about our subscription options and learn about what option your family best fits in. Today, I don't think we know what option you best fit in. I want to be able to have a discussion with you and help guide you to what fits your family the best. And if you sign up for a strategy session within 5 days from this call that we're in today, I'm going to give you 10% off of your investment for your child's future. I want to encourage you to take this strategy session call, even if you're unsure where you fit in the planning process. I want to be able to help guide you to making sure you're fitting into the appropriate place that will most benefit your family. And so to schedule your strategy session, you go to www.calendly.com/enable SNP. And we will also send you an email with this link. So I want to open it up to questions at this point and hear from you guys about what questions you have about the planning process. We've already gotten quite a few questions in here that I am going to address and go over. And if more questions come up, feel free to type them in that chat box. Let me know how you're feeling, what questions you have, how I can help. And like I said, I will stay on as long as I need to answer as many questions as we need.